What's crack-a-lacking anime fans? You're tuning in to the one, the only Weeaboo Corner, and you've come in on a real special day today, cause today we're delving deep into the first 3 parts of Monogatari's second season, Nekomonogatari White, Kabukimonogatari, and Otorimonogatari. I feel like I had to make a completely separate video for this series because every single arc is so vastly different to the last. It's so difficult to rate it as a whole series on my traditional rating system when I could simply review every single individual part of the season in 2 separate episodes. Now, I have to warn you firsthand that this is a series that I've become very passionate about, and void of everything I've ever rated anime on, it's no fun to rate these based on popular or basic anime tropes, so I'll simply review them based on how I feel about them, watching every part twice for good measure, because I'll be reviewing literally, basically every episode. I'm going to warn you now that there's going to be spoilers coming ahead, but since it's auditory, I'm certain you'll be fine. So, now if you're still here, I can only assume that you're either interested or you don't care. So, with that, let's jump into the first part. Nekomonogatari White centers around Tsubasa Hanekawa as she struggles with literally her daily life of being alive, with a Roomba bumping into her head. From this narrative, we are given such a perfect image of Hanekawa as she gives us half the picture, being slightly vain, noticing her flaws and correcting them with a very humble nature. She makes herself breakfast, she eats it, and she leaves. On her journey, she meets Mayoi, who doesn't have a backpack. Keep this in mind, as it's important later. She says that she left it at Aragi's place, and she's on her way there to get it now. Now, if you ask, you have to ask, why does Hanekawa see Mayoi? It's because she doesn't want to go home, of course. I noticed this early because literally no one else but her and Araragi can see Mayoi throughout the series, and Shinobu for obvious reasons. So, after the Mayoi meeting, Hanekawa meets someone else very interesting. A literal tiger. So, here's where it gets interesting. From this point on, the Hanekawa residence burns down to the ground after the tiger's departure, leaving her completely homeless. After a vast string of events, Black Hanekawa awakens from her stress to uncover the mystery of the tiger, introducing people we haven't seen yet, such as Guy and Izuko, and Episode, which is the name of an actual character. And finally, we finally have Hanekawa being honest about her feelings, about, everything. It's beautiful. That's about a rough summary of it, as close as I can get. Obviously, I feel some sort of way about this, because good lord did I love this part. On a very real level, I watch this part when I want to bawl out crying, because the finale is insane. Reading the novel and reading every single part of it is like having Hanekawa right next to you, telling you every single thing that you need to know. What surprised me most was how smooth it felt being narrated by someone who wasn't Araragi. For a hot second I wasn't sure about how I would feel, but finding out more and more about Hanekawa and how she feels, it was super magnetic, being in her shoes the whole journey, having her forget literal chapters, having a whole cat aberration wake up and take over for a couple chapters. It's like she had a whole split personality that made it kind of entertaining to follow at the same time. It wasn't anything like Nekomonogatari Black, where from Araragi's perspective, allowing him to play around with the situation, it was so much more grounded and honest with how it was how far it was willing to go into feelings. We really get to know exactly how she feels the whole way through, even as a full cat girl. So my verdict on this part is it's absolutely great. I loved every single second of this part, and I'm so glad I got I'm so glad I got into this series. If it's gonna keep on pumping out bangers like this, the OP was an absolute slapper. I'm gonna bump the OP on a daily basis. I am. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do it. Most of all, I'm just glad I'm along here for the ride. With that out of the way, let's walk straight into the next part. Kabukimonogatari takes us back through Koyomi Araragi and Shinobu Oshino in the craziest damn adventure I'd ever seen, taking place the day before Hanekawa meets the tiger for the first time. After failing to deliver Hachikuji Mayoi's backpack and a very lengthy conversation between him and Ononoki, Araragi asks the dumbest question in the world: can we go back in time one day? And Shinobu just says, yep, and that's how our journey begins. Araragi and Shinobu go back in time not just one day, but 11 whole damn motherfucking years. All the way back into time to the day before Mayoi gets fucking isekai'd by a truck. So, Araragi saves her life and gets her to her mum's house all safe and sound. No problems at all. Now, we return to the present day, where the story truly begins. And what's happened in the past 11 years that Mayoi has been alive is that Kiss Shot, Shinobu herself, has straight up destroyed the entire world. Every single person on Earth is dead, and it's all thanks to Araragi being a dumb shit, and we have to find some way to get back to our present world. That's the part in a nutshell. No big realizations, no emotional resolve, no final transformation, absolutely no beach episode, and my god did I fucking love this part. Rarely do I enjoy time travel, but just once every once in a while, it's just done so expertly that I just have to applaud the detail and charisma that this upholds. The reason that we get to where we are in the story is because during the fight between Araragi and Hanekawa at the end of Bakimonogatari, Shinobu runs away from Araragi in a desperate attempt to get him to chase her. The one person who truly realizes this firsthand is Mayoi as a ghost girl. Therefore, without Mayoi dying in the first place, she couldn't have become as helpful as she was during the events of Bakimonogatari. In other words, if it wasn't for Mayoi fucking dying, the world would be dead today. Fair enough. Although there is nothing personally amazing about this part, but the way it composes itself the entire way through is absolutely brilliant. Keeping the darkest tone ever as an apocalyptic, nightmare-fueled zombie land. Obviously the best thing to possibly do is to have a beautiful fireworks display. This show, even in its darkest moments, creates scenes of true character bonding that can shine even in the darkest of timelines. If you've been able to follow all of that, I genuinely really enjoyed this part. Even seeing older Mayoi with the finest anime girl body I'd ever damn seen. Obviously, it's a shame that we'll never get to see her that old again because, well, she's dead. But with that, let's move into the strangest narrative I've ever read in my life. Otorimonogatari follows the narrative of a certain Sengoku Nadeko, taking place sometime after Araragi finally comes back to our current timeline and, personally speaking, has some of the most bizarre and mind-numbing narrative moments I've ever experienced. We've never followed the narrative of this girl before, so it's about to get absolutely bonkers how she composes herself. She basically has everyone fawning over her every move, so everyone's first words are usually about how cute she is and how determined she is to impress everyone, but no one truly knows who she truly is. Surprisingly enough, we don't even know who she truly is, even though we're experiencing this through her narration. What we're to understand entirely is that she's sick and tired of everything. Sengoku Nadeko is no longer the girl that we thought she was in the beginning of Nisei Monogatari. She's done with everyone walking all over her. The man she quote-unquote loves won't return her affections at all. No one listens to her or takes her into context her feelings. And then to top it all off, Tsukihei cuts her bangs. Sengoku Nadeko has had enough. Throwing a full bitch fit and being possessed by an imaginary snake spirit. Did I mention the snake spirit? She becomes enraged and eventually becomes a snake god herself, slaughtering Araragi to the brink of death, only to be called off by Senjo Gahara, pleading an insane Sengoku for 6 more months until they graduate. Oh my god, did I get thrown through a fucking ring of fire watching this whole series, and we're not even completely finished with the second season. I think probably my favourite part of this specific part was how kept in the dark I was the entire way through. Not once did I ever assume that Nadeko was insane, but I was completely unaware of the whole importance of Ogi Oshino, a girl who we've seen so little of. It's difficult to get a good read on her. So many stupidly complicated things that I can't even fathom the importance of right now, but the series just keeps me excited. Obviously, the depth of this specific part isn't as personally ensnaring as Tsubasa's love for Araragi, or Mayoi's importance in the fate of the Earth, but Sengoku's importance in the story is more of a human one. She doesn't know where she fits in the world, but she wants to fit regardless. She's told how hated she is, and yet she pursues her passions in silence. She doesn't care who hates her. She follows what she believes, and she expresses her love, and yet for some reason she tries to kill it. Sengoku Nadeko is in every single way and form a liar. She hides her face behind her hair so she doesn't have to show people how she truly feels. She's become accustomed to lying to people so much so that she doesn't even have to bother telling people the truth anymore. She even lies to herself, telling people that telling herself that that the man she loves is someone who gave her attention and played with her when she was a little infant. The Sengoku Nadeko is the opposite of pedo bait. It's genuinely quite nerving. But, props to Araragi for not falling into it. Overall, I genuinely enjoyed this part. I'm going to say that about every part, aren't I? That's just how it is. But just as I did all the other parts of the series, I actually enjoyed this part for a specifically different reason entirely from Neko White and Kabukimonogatari. Watching the cinematic decline of a 13-year-old is always the best blast of a time, except when they have a toothbrush in their mouth. Then it's better. Well, we made it. We finally got to the end of the episode. What was your favourite part? Wow. Really? That's crazy. I completely agree. Oh, I do. Anyway, that's it for the Monogatari corner. I have to go back inside now because it's starting to rain and I forgot to bring an umbrella. If you thought that we'd get a best girl segment in this episode, you're sadly mistaken, because that seg's on the main episode where I review all anime that isn't Monogatari. So with that out of the way, I've delayed my ending and the rain is hitting my face. So, get the hell out of my corner. Bye.